It's like the whole world kind of comes in on you, and then suddenly you're seeing like tunnel vision, right? You can't see anything else. The idea of BRENT is to try to tell our brain, to signal to our subconscious that, hey, everything's safe. We don't need to be stressed out right now, and we're trying to expand the little blinders.
Hey guys, welcome. Today we're going to talk not about horses. I just came from horse riding. Look at those beautiful ones. Here in Panama, it's amazing. What we're going to talk about today is how to reduce stress in your daily life. For me personally, horse riding and being with animals and beautiful creatures like that is one of the things that helps me reduce stress. But I have a special guest for you. This woman, her name is Corrina Rachel. She has a YouTube following of, take a deep breath in, 3 million subscribers on Psychetruth. That's one of her channels. She has several channels. She's not only a holistic health coach, she's also a jazz musician, singer. She's a musician, she plays guitar, and she's a video producer. She produces videos about yoga, about massage, but also holistic health coach videos. I'm so happy I can bring her to you right now and enjoy the interview. Make sure you're going to ask your questions in the comments below. I'm definitely going to read them, and Corrina is also going to have a look. So enjoy the video and let me know what you think. Hi, Corrina.
Hi, Peggy.
Nice to see you finally. I have to thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you so much, Corrina, for joining me. Today's topic is how to increase your energy levels and lower your stress in your life. And the reason why I chose Corrina to talk about that, she has a fantastic YouTube channel, which I mentioned already, Psychetruth. And basically, like, most of her time she spends behind the camera now, but like filming videos about like people who actually like instructors, professionals who are doing yoga, who are doing massage videos, who are all about like those two topics, how to lower the stress and how to increase energy. So I thought like you are one of the best people to talk to. So I'd love to know, like, do you have something that works for you personally, that you're personally using, or that came out as a gold nugget from your work, how to lower stress in your life, in your daily life?
Such a good question, Peggy. And you're right. You know, I have filmed so many videos, so many different people offering different information related to, like you said, yoga, massage, stress relief, guided meditations. And then we also have our second channel, the ASMR channel, which is completely dedicated to stress relief, relaxation, and sleep. So I have, over the years, gained so many different little pieces that to me, every single day, I find myself gravitating towards one of those different little elements. So if I had to just maybe pick, you know, something that I find myself doing most often, I will tell people, you know, when you start feeling anxious, stress, etc., you just remember BRENT. And I think you even have a cute little animal to show as an example.
How do you spell BRENT? Is that does it mean like toy or something like that?
So basically it's an acronym, and I'll go over what each letter stands for. So it kind of becomes your little checklist. But for me, I actually have this little image of a very cute little like cartoon character in my brain, which is BRENT. Or if people have a stuffed animal, perfect.
Look at that.
That is so precious. So yes,
like for relaxation, basically. Because I always think like, well, what would he say? He doesn't say anything. He just looks at you. Look how the legs, everything relaxed, you know, like super grounded.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect example. So you want to think about BRENT, and I encourage people to have an image in their mind of something cute that just immediately makes them smile to think about. And then we can go over what each of the letters stands for. And it's kind of a little checklist of things to do when you're feeling stressed.
Amazing.
So, you know, the feeling of a panic attack or anxiety, or just regular stress, right? Because I really believe that every single human being on the planet, at some time or another, we experience that feeling of stress. And then there's some people who experience that all the time, right? Or there's a constant feeling that like any moment you could have a panic attack, or you could kind of have that. It's like the whole world kind of comes in on you, and then suddenly you're seeing like tunnel vision, right? You can't see anything else. The idea of BRENT is to try to tell our brain, to signal to our subconscious that, hey, everything's safe. We don't need to be stressed out right now. And we're trying to expand the little blinders, right? To open you back up and help you feel more connected to the world around you. Yeah. So the first letter, B, stands for breathe. So breathing is this concept that you really come into a lot in all of these different wellness modalities, such as yoga or meditation. And when I first started filming those videos almost 10 years ago, I remember thinking, man, what is up with all these people talking about breath all the time? Why does every single video start with the breath?
Breathing in, breathing out, meditation, breathing in, relax.
Yes. And I didn't understand it. And so I totally understand if other people now, they hear me talking about this and they're like, what? You're crazy lady or whatever. But I will tell you that if you can start this little trick and start implementing it, you will realize how much it works. And here is why. So if we think about the way that we breathe when we're in a scary situation, right? Walking through a haunted house, right? Or maybe somebody jumps out at you, right?
Or the boss, or the boss is just, angry, and I feel like,
oh yeah.
I mean, I don't, but because I'm self-employed, yes.
But,
if customer complain, or, somebody didn't show up for the Zoom call or whatever,
So yeah, so we're all very familiar with that feeling of very rushed, erratic, shallow breathing, which would look like something like. So almost just in doing that, I can understand that alone perpetuates a feeling of stress, right? It perpetuates this very real stress response that happens in our bodies. I think that's another important thing for people to realize is that even though stress, it feels very internal and it feels very emotional, right? It's not just in our head, right? It's not just a thought or a feeling. It's a physical response that's happening in the body. So we could talk about different hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, these different chemicals that actually get pumped through your body in order to help you fight or flight from a scary situation. That's the whole point. So our stress response is very much there to protect us, to save our lives. And that for me is very important to understand, so that even when you do notice yourself getting stressed, you could have this feeling like, well, thank you, body, for being prepared to save my life. But now we want to tell our body, hey, it's cool. I'm just in the grocery store. No reason to have a panic attack right now. I don't actually have to fight or flight. So one way that we can do that is through our breath. And that's why it's the very first thing that I try to encourage people to think about. So a good first step is to just notice your breath. So maybe you're sitting in traffic, you start to notice you're getting agitated, you start to notice that feeling. Notice your breath. Chances are you're doing that shallow, erratic breathing that I kind of exhibited a moment ago. And so the tip is to actually put your focus on your breath and try to extend your exhale so that it's longer than the inhale. And I will also tell people you can even put your hand on your belly, because when you take a full, deep belly breath, you'll actually feel your belly expand. Our lung capacity goes all the way down to below our belly button. So you can kind of think about how much air we could be filling ourselves up with, where most of the time we're just maybe like a quarter of our lung capacity is getting used. So that's another reason that breath is so important, because if you're not filling up your lung capacity, your internal subconscious, your brain is actually receiving these messages that you're hyperventilating, that you don't have enough oxygen. So if you can slow your breath down, breathe deep into your belly, and try to really have a slow exhale. That slow exhale, I almost see it like a lever that sends a message to your nervous system telling it, hey, there are no bears around here. There's no lions, there's no tigers, and there's no reason to be having a stress response now. And again, I would just repeat that element that like the first couple times you do it, it feels a little weird. I am totally cool with it. If you're even like thinking about me and thinking like, man, that crazy lady talking about the breath, I don't know, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Totally fine. You should have those thoughts, but whether you have those thoughts or not,
just do it.
Kind of coming back to that. And over time, you will notice that it makes a huge difference. And if you can actually start to be having this deep belly, calm breathing through more of your day, you should actually find that you have that stress response less, because your brain is getting this constant flow of oxygen. It's basically feeling like, hey, everything's honky-dory right now. There's no reason to be panicking.
Corrina, I really like that concept, because often, or that idea, because often, you know, for example, when I feel like stressed or something happened, I feel, as you said, like this, everything's closing in, and I don't really know how to get out of it. You know, I think that, I shouldn't feel stressed, and what am I going to do? I should eat something, or, I should lie down. But actually, I kind of try to get out of it, but it's exhausting. So right. This is kind of just easy. I can do that anywhere, in an airport or in a market or wherever something happened. And sometimes it's not even, head thing. It's just an emotional reaction to something, don't even know why. But then just this kind of one tool, just to make the exhale longer than the inhale, and like slow, and maybe hand on the belly. If it's kind of, if I'm in a cafe, I can do that easily without, feeling weird.
Yeah.
So, I love that tip.
Yeah, it's a good one. And it, once you start to realize how important the breath is, it suddenly makes everything else fall into place, which is why many yoga classes begin with like bringing your attention to the breath and things like that. And it really is, the more that you do it, the more and more pronounced it starts to feel. I think there's also this element of just creating that habit, for yourself, that you're kind of come back to making this calm, deep breathing a habit. And then the more that just becomes something that you naturally do without even thinking about it, it starts to really make a difference, and hopefully decrease the amount of times throughout the day that you feel those feelings come back up.
Awesome.
So then to move on to the next letter, so B-R, and then the R stands for relax. And basically this is just the same way we brought our attention to our breath. Now we want to start bringing our attention to the different muscles in our body that we may be clenching. And so the first one for me that I think about is right here. And it's this thing right here, this furrowing of the brow, okay, which not only creates the like aesthetic things, nobody wants wrinkles right there, right? But more importantly than that, we could talk about the element of like eye strain that comes when you're furrowing your brow and all these muscles are tight. It can cause headaches. It can cause neck pain. It can prevent people from sleeping. But again, just like the shallow breathing is a habit and lots of people don't even notice they do it, it's the same thing with that. And a lot of people too will have like clenching of the jaw would be another one, or people who grind their teeth at night. That's a very common thing. So the whole idea is to start making a practice of bringing your attention to those different muscles. In yoga, you'll sometimes hear the cue, relax your face. And that's like, for me, probably like the thing that goes through my head the most times throughout the day.
Yes.
Relax your face, Corrina. So it's like, notice your brow, notice your jaw. Then you could start noticing if you're like tensing your shoulders up. So a lot of times when we're stressed, for whatever reason, we do this. It's terrible, right?
It's kind of, you know.
It's protective.
Yeah.
It's maybe like this. Or it's just this weird thing where like the shoulders creep up to the ears. So this idea that you would just like notice that, right? Make an intention to bring your shoulders down. They sometimes will say like put them down and like relax them down your back. It's like a heart opening thing. Here, if I turn to the side, you can see a little easier. So like this, right, where people are at, which in and of itself, they call like forward head posture. So here you're creating a little kink in the cervical spine. Cervical is your neck here. If the muscles are tense and firing, that just creates a stress response for the body. But you can also, remember that the spine, it's like the super highway. It's like the information super highway of your body, right? Every single message that goes from here to anywhere else in your body, it travels through the spine. So what happens if you have a water hose and you put a kink in the hose?
Less energy.
Yeah, less energy, water stops coming out. So what happens if we put a kink in the spine? Just something simple like straightening the neck. You can try to think about having your ears over your shoulders. That is a very big piece. And that's something that we have probably hundreds of videos about on the Psychetruth channel.
Right.
But it's just one of those things I encourage people to have on their little checklist. Like, notice your face. Notice if you're clenching your jaw or doing this in the brow. Notice your neck. Can you relax your shoulders? What can you do to just relax your body?
I love that tip. There's one thing that I don't know where I heard that, but I'm sometimes doing. It's like this, when I feel like I'm not happy or something happened that I don't want, like resistance. So I do this like religiously in front of the mirror. I know it's like silly, but it really works. So having a pen, and then I bite on the pen and I just watch myself like this. And that actually, just because, as you said, like everything, like all the muscles, they are connected to the nervous system. So if we smile, which is inevitable if we do the pen thing, then just doing that for 1 minute, I actually put the timer and I feel like, hormones are released in my body. Just just pure physical thing, This is just how simple it can be. And of course, you're not going to change your life just by biting on a pen, but it's a tool. It can help to shift something.
Right. And at the end of the day, I would argue that, what is our life, to change our life? Our life is our experience of every moment. So if we're talking about, hey, here's something that you can do to improve your experience in this one single moment, that to me is changing your life. It is changing your experience, your enjoyment. And that's a great example of something that as it becomes a habit, it actually becomes more and more beneficial. And there's actually a lot of different neuroscientific studies that they've done on smiling. And yes, if people are upset or sad and they smile, that just act of smiling automatically, changes the neurotransmitters that are being sent out in the body. And it really can change your state.
Even if it's fake, it doesn't have to be real. It can be just like art.
Exactly. It does not have to be an authentic smile. It can be a forced smile.
Turning into an authentic smile.
Right. And that actually brings me to the next letter in my little BRENT acronym, which is the E for enjoy. And so maybe that's actually perfect that you would mention that there. The whole idea is just to find something to smile about, something to enjoy about the situation you're in. And sometimes for me, it's like if everything feels like it's going wrong and you missed this meeting and you missed that meeting and then that person didn't show up and then you're sitting in traffic and then somebody cancels on you for later.
And then you don't have any food in the fridge.
And you don't have any food in the fridge. And I just say, you know what? It's just like a comedy of errors. Like it's almost hilarious that everything would be going wrong. And I do believe that life is, it is meant to challenge us. You know, we're not here to just have these perfectly easy lives where everything is perfect.
Boring.
I think that our journey is to come up against struggle and to find ways to move past it. So it's a difficult, you know, depending on what's going on in your life. And obviously sometimes things are very, very bad and it does not feel like you can smile. But by and large, if we're talking about the day-to-day things and the things that are affecting most people on a daily basis, it's something where you can either find something to enjoy about the situation, like you're in traffic, but at least you have some good songs on the radio you can listen to. Or, hey, everyone else canceled, but you know what? Maybe that means that I get to take a day off tomorrow or go do something for myself tomorrow that I wouldn't have been able to do if I had to work. So yeah, whether it's a forced smile, whatever it might be, that is what the E stands for. And then the next letter N is to notice. And this kind of comes back to that idea of like kind of getting out of the blinders thing. So the notice is a challenge for you to try and notice something about your situation or your environment that you hadn't noticed before. Mm-hmm. So if you are outside, that's maybe the easiest place to actually do this because you have a huge, right? If you were to just like look around, you know, while you're standing outside, maybe you notice like some trees far, far in the distance. You notice a little, especially here, you know, we'll have a lot of like the little bird formations. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, you know what? Those little birds are in a formation. It kind of looks like the Batman bat. Anything that brings you into the current moment. So maybe it's noticing the color of the clouds. Maybe it's noticing the temperature of the room. And if you're in a place where you can maybe have essential oils or even a lotion that smells nice. I also think about ASMR. So autonomous sensory meridian response. Basically, this is just a style of video that is dedicated to helping people relax. Mm-hmm. And the autonomic sensory meridian response is just kind of an arbitrary name that was given to the sensation of relaxation. And sometimes people even feel physical tingles in response to these different triggers. A lot of times it's binaural sounds. So sounds on either side of your ear. You can do this for yourself. So if I'm laying in bed, I might scratch on the pillow next to me. If I have something sitting next to me, maybe it's tapping.
And I just do it on one ear?
I would do it on both or go ear to ear. Or if you have, you know, earmuffs or something like that, right? Or even headphones and you can tap on the headphones. But this very like strong, immersive binaural sound is a very effective way to bring you into the moment. And
it's a rhythm. Do I have to have a rhythm or is
No, it's not about a rhythm and it's not about being musical or being interesting or anything like that. It's really about, I think, tapping into what feels pleasant to you to listen to. So everyone is different. Honestly, one of my favorite sounds, paper towel. I don't know what it is. So I'm kind of doing this on the paper towel up next to my ear.
Nice.
It's weird. It's a little weird. And maybe you wouldn't do that in public, but but you know, it's something that you can really get creative with. And you can really do anywhere. And I will, when I'm out shopping in the grocery store or wherever, I will pick things up and I will listen to how they sound. I will, what's an example here? Something that's kind of scratchy. But things like that. So you're noticing little tiny things, like maybe a texture, maybe a sound, maybe a smell. The whole idea is just bringing your attention to anything other than those crazy thoughts that are making you feel crushed and making you feel trapped. Bring your attention to anything else. So that's the N for notice. And then the last letter, so BRENT, Brent, the last letter T, and that is to be thankful. There have been studies where they, hook people up to the EEG, and they can actually see that them just trying to think of something to be grateful for, whether you think of anything or not, just the act of trying to think about something that you're grateful for has effects on our brain and the neurotransmitters that will be released in response. This is maybe like the breathing, where the first time you do it, or the smiling with the pen, the first couple times you do it, you feel like, oh, this is so stupid. It's not going to work. This is never going to work. But if you can keep doing it, you will soon find that it really does make a difference. So maybe it's, a lot of times when we talk about being thankful, first, people think about like, oh, my family, my job, my house, my car. And I think it's good to think about those things. But I also really encourage people to think about things that are not temporary or not potentially temporary, because a lot of times it can end up that our happiness is contingent on other things. And that, unfortunately, it's human nature, right? But it's also kind of a recipe for disaster, because everything in life is temporary. And we know that. We all know that. We've all experienced that in one way or another.
Do you have like an example for like just some things you are grateful for or appreciative or thankful for? Just
when I do my gratitude list, the first thing I'm usually thankful for is that I'm even able to be in this position, that I can think of something that I'm grateful for. Because there are a lot of people out there who, whether it is through some kind of illness that they were born with or some kind of tragic accident they experienced in their life, there are people who do not have that ability to think for themselves, to notice things, to even do the little BRENT checklist. Like, that is something to be grateful for.
Yes, the space. Yeah, so if you're super hungry and you can't survive and you don't have a safe place, you know, violence in your house, like there's no space.
Right.
So us, even if you're just even if it's just 5 minutes and we have a busy day, but that's something, that's a gift.
And I do think it's important to be grateful for those things that are material and that are potentially temporary. But then there's also this concept in yoga. It's often referred to as santosha. It's this idea of inner contentment. This idea that your true joy and your true happiness comes from so deep inside of you that it is completely separate from any other temporary thing in your life. And that literally no matter what happened to you, even if you lost everything and you ended up destitute living in the street, that you would still have this santosha, this inner contentment that makes you want to carry on, and that makes you even want to reach out and help another person, because you're not in a feeling of self-pity. You know that your true inner contentment comes from within. Now, this is something that people meditate for their entire lives, to create and to really get in touch with that feeling. It's not something that you just like, oh yeah, santosha, cool, throw that in the basket. Just to recognize that all of the other things in my life aside, like I am grateful to be alive and I'm grateful to be who I am.
For me, I have like a trigger sentence that helps me. And that is to get to this Santosha space. I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about. And I feel like throughout my life, I get closer and closer and come back to it more quickly. And that sentence is, life wants to be really good. Life wants to be really good to me. And I feel you shared before, like with the growing, that life like throws growing opportunities at us. But it's not. That's already a way of seeing it. Instead of, I'm a victim and I lost everything. But that's like, in a way, our soul invited us. We create that. We create that experience. And even if you might not, if like the people listening, you might not be in that position to feel the truth of it, but just like as a mindset shift, instead of thinking like I have to fight against life and I have to be strong, resist. Instead of, it's like a river somehow. It's like I'm more like in my personal life, I'm more experiencing what really happens if I'm like the trees outside there. You can't see them, but they're just waving in the wind. They still are stable, but they are not resisting. They are they know that life wants to be good for them, and that life in it by itself is a gift, that it's a precious, and it's about experience, everything, the full package. That would be boring if we're just all is like paradise, easy peasy, 24/7. Who wants that?
Right.
We think we want that, but nobody really wants that. It's boring.
Right. And I love that you use that example of the trees blowing in the wind. That's a great kind of transcends in all these different areas. So for instance, in yoga classes, a lot of times when they teach tree pose, where you balance on one leg, right? Balancing on one leg. And this idea that you want to create a strong foundation, but that you still can move. You're not a stick straight. It's not a cement pole. And that sometimes they'll even say, yes, and wave your tree, wave your leaves. But it's kind of this same idea that you have this sense of strength and stability, like the trunk of a tree, but you are still soft and you are still flexible. And even as the wind blows this way and the wind blows that way, it doesn't blow you over.
Yes.
It just kind of changes what you do.
I feel like through this brand, what you I'm so happy that I can actually introduce my friend here. It's
yes. I'm so glad that you had him with you too, because it's perfect.
Yeah. And I always look at him, I think like, what would he say? And
yes.
then he doesn't say anything. I just look and he's just relaxed. He's just like stable, grounded, super chilled, nice.
He's so chill, but he's so cute. Oh my goodness.
And for the sounds, he got these little these little bells in the butt. It's so nice.
I love it.
You would love it, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. I might have to try to find one and order it to use in a video.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Increase the subscriber rate. What I love about you is there is it's easy to remember. You did the work. I just have to apply it. Or you guys watching it, you just have to apply it. But the construct really helps, with the brand thing.
God.
It's really precious. I feel like I would love to, if the gut feelers want to see that, do another video about energy, how to increase.
Yes, I know you wanted to talk about stress and energy, and I'm a little loquacious. BRENT
is a good way to start, I think.
Yeah.
Doing the first step, I think, doing the first step, then you do the next. It's not from super stressed to the happiest person, most relaxed alive, but this is not how it works. It's always one thing, and then you create a habit and neurological pathways from a little street to a bigger street to a highway.
Right.
This is how it works. I'd love to, from the gut feelers watching, I have a question for you, question of the day. I would love to know which of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which one of the 6 acronyms or little mini exercises are the most where you feel like you should do them and they give you the most relief. What was, or is one that was like an, oh wow, like an aha, something that you want to put into action right now? Of course, they are all important. So do them from the first to the last. But I know, like, sometimes you might have something that you're doing already or that you're good at, but there might be something new for you. And so I want to know. Let me know, like, one word in the comments below. And I'm going to use this time now to say thank you to Corrina. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Peggy.
It was lovely. You know, you're kind of a well of wisdom, to put it mildly. And I love to see you again. Let's see what the gut feeders say. Guys, if you have questions for Corrina, also put them in the comments below. Okay, Corrina, thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you. And guys, answer the question. And if you want to learn more about Corrina, I'm going to link all the channels mentioned down below in the comments. I'm also going to link them up here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peggy. I'm so happy to be here and be a part of the gut feeling community. I can't wait to come back on again.